Skeptics among you might believe Black Ops 2 to simply be more of the same. Well, you're wrong. A host of improvements to multiplayer make it better than ever. Zombies is more fleshed out and bigger than what's come before. But most of all, Treyarch's taken the campaign in an unexpected direction, delivering on the promise of player choice and divergent stories. This isn't just another Call of Duty. This is, in many ways, a new beginning for the franchise. A benchmark that sets a new standard for not only what fans should expect for the series, but for big-budget shooters in general. Since there's so much to cover in this game, we're going to do things a little differently and break down the game into 3 distinct sections. Let's start with the campaign.
Time on target, 30 seconds. Shit, that was close!
Black Ops 2's campaign has the big moments we've all come to expect. Vehicle crashes? Check. Epic firefights? Yup. But what's really surprising is that the campaign manages to tell a story that not only makes sense, but is also emotionally engaging. This is partially due to the great facial capture Treyarch's employed, cutscenes that help flesh out the story, and great writing. During the Cold War era segments of the campaign, you play as a combination of returning characters from the first Black Ops, while in the very plausible feeling future segments, you play as protagonist Alec Mason's son, David. It'd be easy to muddle the time skipping, but here it's juggled well, coming together to form a story unlike any other in the series. Dark Knight writer David Goyer and game director David Anthony wove together an atypical narrative, with a villain that's both menacing and sympathetic. His name is Raul Menendez, and he forms the foundation for the plot, stealing the spotlight away from the heroes. The story feels decidedly mature, and far less brotacular than the typical COD fare. The best part of Black Ops 2's story, though, is that you get to shape its outcome. Like many people, I was skeptical about how well Treyarch would actually implement player decisions into the campaign, but they've done a fantastic job. Some choices you make are strictly binary, but more often they're subtle, relying on whether or not you finish certain mission objectives. Throughout the story, you'll see that different characters can live or die depending on your actions, and everything you do influences which of the multiple endings you'll get. Of course, shooting is what Call of Duty games do better than the rest, and Black Ops 2 is no exception. The engine may not look as good as some games, but it consistently runs at 60 FPS, resulting in the crisp and responsive controls that no other shooter ever quite matches. There's always plenty to shoot in the campaign, and it's paced well with lots of breaks for more intimate story moments, as well as vehicle segments that put you in control of futuristic jets and creepy spider-like infiltration robots. Combat also feels a bit different depending on the time you're playing in, with Cold War era weaponry juxtaposed against futuristic yet believable tech of 2025. While they're instrumental to the outcome of the campaign and are a step in a good direction, the Strike Force mission's controls leave much to be desired. These missions place you in control of a group of soldiers, drones, and other units, tasking you with a variety of objectives and forcing you to lead them into battle. You can take direct control of any unit at any time, as well as issue them commands, which is a cool thing to see in action. The problem is that most of the time I felt like I had to win the fight on my own, and since I couldn't even have my forces rally on me, and they only seemed to be great at taking bullets that would otherwise hit me, I generally just ordered all my forces to move to a point. It didn't feel strategic, and it was immensely frustrating. Succeed or fail though, these missions will change the course of your campaign, at times dramatically. That alone makes them worth struggling through.
Nice work, Mason!
Hunter-killer drone on standby.
Once you've gotten through the campaign, it's on to multiplayer, which has also changed in significant ways. It all begins from the moment you start, where you can jump right into regular online multiplayer, getting those endorphin rushes as you constantly level up and unlock items for your loadout. Or you can ease yourself into the experience with combat training against bots and still earn experience. If that isn't appealing, you can skip the unlock grind and get competitive with the new League Play mode. This mode gets you right into the action, and after 5 placement matches, puts your team in a league where you can fight your way up from. It's a smart addition that shows how forward-thinking Treyarch is when it comes to integrating Call of Duty into the esports scene. What I like about all these options is that it shows that Treyarch doesn't care if you decide to do custom games against bots armed with axes, or if you want to form a team and hit the competitive scene, or even if you just want to learn from the beginning because you've never played the game before. They've made a super encompassing multiplayer experience that accommodates players regardless of their skill level. The desire to give players more choices also comes across in the new Pick 10 class loadout system. Here, every part of a loadout is given a value of 1, and you can delete and edit your perks, attachments, weapons, and accessories until they form a combination that adds up to 10. They've also added a new set of options called wildcards into the mix, which allows you to break game rules, giving you access to, say, 3 attachments on a weapon, or even allowing you to take more than 3 perks in a loadout. All in all, this results in the most robust creative class system to date, and gives even the most experienced players a host of new classes to try, tweak, and experiment with. Additional modes return alongside fan favorites to create a multiplayer you can easily lose hours to. On top of standard modes like Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, and Search and Destroy, as well as the returning Kill Confirmed, we get the fun options of Hardpoint and multi-team battles. Hardpoint is essentially a King of the Hill mode with a roaming capture point. The multi-team battles mix things up considerably though, changing the dynamic of modes by allowing you to play 3 teams of 4, or 4 teams of 3, or a number of other combinations. When 4 or more small packs of players are roaming a map of Kill Confirmed, it gets nuts, creating an intensity and competitiveness that larger 2-team battles just can't match. If you want others to see the madness and are playing on PS3 or Xbox, you can even live stream your matches. Black Ops 2 social features are easily as elaborate as last year's Modern Warfare 3, with added features that give even the most hardcore players interesting ways to stay connected to Call of Duty, even when they're not shooting. You can watch and create videos in theater, spectate in matches and shoutcast them afterwards, or, for PS3 and Xbox 360 players, check out your stats and an array of other interesting data in Call of Duty Elite. Rounding out the wealth of gameplay options in Black Ops 2 is the tongue-in-cheek zombies mode. You can still do the typical survival mode, but that feels a bit hollow and superfluous now that they've included transit. It's not so much a campaign with a real story as the pre-release rhetoric led me to believe, but an adventure mode. Mechanically, it's the same as survival, where you hold out against waves of increasingly difficult zombies for as long as possible. But the difference is that you have a decent-sized world to roam around in, with multiple areas you can go between via a defensible bus. The fun of it isn't in having a story told to you, but in discovery. The transit lore is intentionally vague, and it's up to you and your team to figure out how to interact with it, where its secrets lie, and how best to survive. Even though each playthrough ends in death, it's still rewarding when you've learned something new that you can integrate into your ever-growing transit routine. Co-op also presents a fun change from the hyper-competitiveness of the multiplayer. Or, if you feel like being a bastard, you can always team up with your friends to take on other survivors in the new Grief mode. This mode places you in one of a couple survival locations from transit, and together with your team, you see if you can outlast another team of 4. You can't directly affect one another outside of the stun that interrupts revives, or by throwing meat that attracts zombies, but there's a certain madness to each round. You're racing to kill zombies to score resources for yourself, trying to protect your team, and at the same time attempting to funnel the enemy team into a position where they can get torn to pieces. It's a balancing act that provides a nice twist to the standard zombies formula. If that's not enough, they've also included custom game options for zombies, allowing you to do things like set it to be headshots only, or pick your starting round. What these options really do though, is they let you and your friends create an experience that's more closely tailored to your zombie fantasy.
Alright, let's go, bitch.
The addition of Pick 10, multi-team battles, and the fantastic integration of player choice in the campaign have made Black Ops 2 a superior Call of Duty experience. It's still easily recognizable for longtime fans, but it builds upon the foundation set down by the series, and challenges what we've come to expect from an annualized franchise. There's just so much game here to mess around with and enjoy, and if you've ever been a fan that got burnt out on the franchise, or are finally looking to jump in for the first time, there's no finer point than Black Ops 2. For more on Call of Duty, Black Ops 2, keep it at IGN.